Most people save for retirement the same way they brush their teeth, automatically, without thinking, and for decades. You hit your 20s and start contributing to a 401k. By your 30s, it's muscle memory. By your 40s, you're increasing contributions every year. By your 50s, you're maxing out accounts like clockwork. But when does it end? According to this study conducted by EBRI and Greenwald Research, 78% of retirees say they have more money than they need, or about what they expected. They oversaved. And not by a little, but by years of their lives. In fact, Bankrate's 2025 survey found that 58% of American workers believe they're behind on retirement savings. But when you run the actual numbers for people in their 50s and 60s who've been consistently saving, a significant percentage have already crossed the finish line without realizing it. They're grinding through another year of contributions when compounding has already taken over. They're delaying retirement because they're waiting for some feeling of certainty that never comes. Today we're breaking down the exact mathematical moment when you can seriously stop saving for retirement. We will show the actual thresholds where continuing to save produces almost zero additional security and cost you time you can't get back. If you're wondering whether you've been grinding longer than necessary, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who deserves permission to stop. Let's get into it. Most people start saving for retirement in their 20s or 30s with one simple rule: don't stop. Max out your 401k, hit that company match, increase contributions every year, and for the first 15 to 20 years, that discipline is exactly what you need. Your portfolio is small, compounding is weak. You are the engine pulling everything forward, but somewhere between year 15 and year 25, something changes, and almost nobody notices. Your portfolio hits a size where the annual growth becomes larger than what you're contributing. Let's say you've been putting in $18,000 per year. At $250,000 saved, a 7% return gives you $17,500. At $350,000, that same 7% gives you $24,500. Suddenly, your $18,000 contribution isn't the main driver anymore. Compounding is. And yet, you keep saving at the same pace because that's what you've always done. According to research from the Federal Reserve's 2025 Economic Wellbeing Survey, only 35% of non-retirees think their retirement savings is on track, even though 61% already have tax-preferred retirement accounts. The problem isn't that people aren't saving, it's that they don't know how to measure whether they've saved enough. So they stay on autopilot. They keep contributing out of fear, not because the math requires it. And here's the cost. Every year you work purely to add to an already funded retirement is a year you could have been living differently, working part-time, taking a sabbatical, spending time with aging parents or growing kids. The question isn't just, how much do I need? It's, when do I have permission to stop? There are 3 numbers that determine whether you can stop saving. Not a gut feeling, not a financial guru's opinion. 3 actual calculable numbers. Number 1, your retirement spending target. This isn't what you earn now, it's what you'll actually spend. For most people, retirement spending drops compared to working years. No commute, no work wardrobe. Maybe the mortgage is paid off. Kids are independent. Fidelity's research shows spending typically falls over time. 100% of baseline from ages 65 to 74. 89% from 75 to 84. 73% after age 85. So if you think you need $80,000 per year, you might realistically need closer to $70,000 in your 70s and $60,000 in your 80s. But let's stay conservative and use $80,000 as the baseline. Number 2, guaranteed income. This is Social Security, pensions, annuities, anything that pays you regardless of your portfolio. The average Social Security benefit in 2025 is around $22,000 per year. If you worked higher paying jobs or delayed claiming, you might see $30,000 to $40,000. Let's say you'll get $30,000 from Social Security. That means your portfolio only needs to cover $80,000 minus $30,000 equals $50,000 per year. Number 3, your safe withdrawal rate. This is the most exciting part. Bill Bengen, who created the original 4% rule back in 1994, updated his research last year. He now recommends a 4.7% withdrawal rate, which he calls the universal safe max, based on analysis across 7 asset classes and updated market data. But Charles Schwab's research suggests being more conservative depending on your time horizon. For a 30-year retirement, they recommend a 4.2% to 4.8% range. So let's use 4.5% as a reasonable middle ground. That will be $50,000 divided by 4.5% equals $1,111,111. So if you need $80,000 per year and Social Security covers $30,000, you need roughly $1.1 million in your portfolio to retire safely. Now here's the moment of truth. If you currently have $1.2 million, you're at 108% of your target. You've already won. If you have $1.5 million, you're at 135%. You've overfunded your retirement. If you have $2 million, you're at 180%. You're working to fund someone else's inheritance, not your retirement. Even when people run these numbers and see they're over the line, they hesitate. But what if there's another 2008? What if I live to 100? What if healthcare costs explode? These are legitimate concerns, I get that. But here's what the research actually shows. An analysis published by the CFA Institute found that retirees who use diversified portfolios, not just the S&P 500, and who make modest adjustments during downturns, reduce their failure rate from 17% to just 2% to 3%. What kind of adjustments? Cutting discretionary spending by 10% during market downturns. Delaying a big purchase for a year. Small moves. You're not a computer running a static withdrawal for 30 years. You're a human who adapts. And here's the other side of that coin. The Federal Reserve's survey found that 80% of older households are financially struggling or at risk of economic insecurity. But that's not because they saved and then spent too much in retirement. It's because they never had access to employer retirement plans in the first place, or they stopped contributing too early, or life circumstances derailed them. For the 46% of households who do have retirement savings, and especially for those who've been consistently contributing for 20 plus years, the problem is usually the opposite. It's not undersaving. It's not knowing when enough is enough. Here's a reframe that might help. Continuing to save when you're already at 130% to 150% of your target doesn't buy you safety. It buys you slightly more safety, going from a 95% success rate to a 97% success rate. And what did that extra 2% cost you? A year of your life, maybe more time with grandkids, maybe a trip you've been delaying, maybe the freedom to work part-time at something you love instead of grinding full-time at something you tolerate. Here's the uncomfortable truth about retirement. Your spending window is shorter than you think, not because of life expectancy, because of activity expectancy. A study cited in the Journal of Financial Planning found that spending drops 60% after the first 15 years of retirement. Why? Because your 60s and early 70s are, well, different from your late 70s and 80s. In your 60s, you're hiking national parks, flying overseas, taking road trips maybe. By your late 70s, you're visiting local family, gardening, reading. Both are valid, but they have very different price tags. And yet, people in their late 50s are working extra years to pad a number they'll never fully spend because they're waiting for the safe moment to stop. Meanwhile, health issues start creeping in. The energy goes down, parents age, friends move or pass away. So, if you're 58 and you've already hit 130% of your target, the question isn't, should I keep saving? It's, am I willing to trade my healthiest, most energetic years for a slightly bigger number I probably won't need? So in short, you've won the retirement game when 3 things are true. 1. Your portfolio exceeds your retirement need by at least 20% to 30%. That buffer accounts for market volatility, unexpected expenses, and the fact that you're human and might want to splurge occasionally. 2. Your annual portfolio growth exceeds your annual contributions. If your $1.5 million is growing by $70,000 per year and you're contributing $25,000, compounding's doing most of the work. Your contributions are rounding errors. 3. You've accounted for the tax situation. If 80% of your money is in traditional IRAs and 401ks, you haven't actually saved $1.5 million. You've saved $1.5 million before taxes. After RMDs and tax, you might have access to $1.1 million of purchasing power. If all 3 are true, You've crossed the line. What you do next is a choice. You can keep working if you love your job. You can keep saving if you want a bigger legacy for your kids. But breathe, because you no longer need to grind. Your retirement isn't about hitting a magic age or a magic number. It's about hitting the point where your portfolio can carry the weight without you. Early on, you're the engine. You're dragging everything forward with discipline and sacrifice. But if you stay consistent long enough, there's a moment, a real calculable moment, where compounding takes over and your contributions become optional. That's when you've won. After that, your only job is to live the life it was designed to fund. If this gave you clarity on where you actually stand, hit like and subscribe for more no-nonsense financial truth. And drop a comment. When you ran your numbers, were you closer to enough than you thought? Or do you still have a ways to go?